This podcast is brought to you by Aunt May and Tim. Feeling low? Want to feel not low? Take a trip to the farm for some fresh air, fresher produce, and even fresher manure. Build friendships over planting crops, build your self-esteem helping care for chickens, and build your character with some good old-fashioned manual labor. Let your soul take a spa day filled with their laughter and good company, and at night, find yourself in starlit walks under the gorgeous Colorado sky. Just don't forget to watch where you step. Aunt May and Tim. Got alpacas? Because they sure do.
Welcome to Little, Middle, and Biggle. I'm your middle brother, Joshua.
I'm your little brother, Andrew. And I'm your biggle brother, Noah.
And we are the ones who will try our best to answer the little, middle, and biggle questions we all have in life. Today, as always, we've each brought a question, either little, middle, or biggle in scale, and between the three of us, we'll do our best to find the answers to all of them. So, starting off today, we have Andrew with the little question. Little brother, what have you brought for us?
My question is, what are each of you guys' favorite grandparental memories? I'm gonna go ahead and say one for each set of grandparents.
Oh, not each individual grandparent? Each set?
Yeah, each set of grandparents.
Okay.
I think my favorite memory from Grandma Lindy and Grandpa Buddy has got to be just their random dropping-ins when they still lived in Garden City. Because, not that we're not excited to see you guys now, but it was always just such a fun surprise to come home and be like, hey, we got people who love us here.
That's sweet.
That's sweet. On Grandma Rita and Grandpa Dave's side, I always really loved, strangely, watching Grandpa Dave wind the clocks. And I always really liked, obviously, pressing all of the little battery-powered snowman dancer things at Christmas and Easter.
Oh, yeah. Believe me, we noticed.
Yeah.
We noticed.
I'm sure you did.
I can still hear that, instant replay in my brain, that horrible Easter little doll thing singing the remix of Rockin' Robin.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, not that I don't love those, if you're listening, grandparents. They're great. For me, the Grandma Lindy and Grandpa Buddy favorite memory is definitely when we went up, we being Andrew and Joshua and Mom and I, went up for their 50th anniversary to visit them in Garden City. Even though we did a whole lot of nothing, it was just, in retrospect, at the time, it made me a little stir crazy. But in retrospect, it was great just to get to be with them on their own turf when we had not done so in probably 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And also just to see that they still loved each other. And yeah, that was a good time. As for Grandma Rita and Grandpa Dave, it is a toss-up between, oh man. Okay, three things. One is the multiple years of getting to sleep over at their house, camping out in the tent in their living room with Noah or with Andrew.
Yeah.
But also, I also really loved and still do love Christmas over there every single year. There are just so many good memories that I have wrapped up in spending time with literally that entire side of the family all at once over there, and just relaxing and just really, I don't know, for some reason it always feels like Christmas is more of a celebration over at their house. Maybe it's just because of all the people, or maybe it's just because of the memories I have tied up in it. But yeah,
it's also a very homey air at
Oh, yeah.
At Grandma Reed and Grandpa Dave's house.
The cinnamon-scented pine cones.
Uh-huh.
Thermostat that's turned up just a little bit too high. Good stuff. But okay, the third thing is the giant, like, thick Chips Ahoy cookies that they used to have.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is a beautiful memory in my childhood mind. And yeah, not ashamed to say that equals the other two.
Yeah, well, and now that you said your Grandma Lindy and Grandpa Buddy memory, I'm going to revise mine to that same trip where there was something going on at the Lutheran Church in Garden City, like some construction, so we all went up and just did a couple things that needed doing. And it was just cool to be involved in a community that both sides of the Beggs family have been involved in for a long time. And it's just kind of like a blast from the past.
I'd totally forgotten that we had done that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyways, Noah, what's yours?
Man, those are some good ones. I think
you can piggyback off of ours if you want.
Yeah, I think it's going to be semi-piggybacked. I think my favorites from Gremlin and Grandpa Buddy would either be just the random surprise visits, or also just like going and hanging out at their house wherever it might be. I don't know. Like now, it's cool to hang out with them and like just talk and just be together and catch up on whatever's going on. And then whenever we were little, it was like this weird little wonderland going over to their house. And the same with Grandpa and Grandpa Dave's. I think partially because they both had big gardens, you know? Like I was always a huge fan of those. But I don't know. And then
so just to clarify, for Grandpa Buddy and Grandma Lindy, it wasn't almost dying on a motorcycle?
Oh yeah, that's right. The motorcycle thing. That was probably not my favorite experience because I couldn't even ride a bike at that point. But
well, okay. You must take into account that you did not learn to ride a bike until above the average.
16? 17? You were already
18.
dating Amber, I think.
I was 18. Oh. Andrew taught me how to ride.
Wow.
Did I seriously?
Yep.
That is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have a lot further to fall. Like, if you don't hit the bike riding threshold by like 3 years old, then you know you've got the cost for failure is a lot higher. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Move on, Noah. So for Grandma Reed and Grandpa Dave.
For Grandma Reed and Grandpa Dave, I think it would be. See, it's hard because I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but for me, like the childhood memories are somehow very separate from the adult memories. Maybe because they've all moved to Amarillo between those two times. So like childhood, I guess for both of them, it was like going over to their houses, and I don't know. It always felt like this cool little wonderland to me. And playing with whatever random toys they had, and just hanging out with them. And then like as they all moved to Amarillo, I think just like holiday memories, like everyone, not to immediately piggyback right off of what you guys said, but hanging out with everyone, like all the extended family and with the grandparents. And I don't know, like it's always really, it's just really fun. If you want a really specific memory, like Grandma Reed and Grandpa Dave's carpet, oddly. I don't know why, but just like sitting or laying down on that carpet is always just very relaxing.
Like doing winter peppers and somersaults.
See,
yes,
I don't know.
exactly.
When I think of their carpet, I think of when we used to always get pizza delivered, and it was always like Papa John's. It was never Domino's or Pizza Hut, weirdly. But And then Grandmarita would throw out that like plastic coated picnic blanket, and we would watch, some random episode of Star Trek that Grandma would watch. Yeah.
I do not remember that.
That may have been before your time.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But it was here in Amarillo?
Yeah, it was definitely here.
Whoa.
Yeah, there are lots of memories like that. They're just really fun.
Yeah. A lot of Diddy Kong racing went on at their house.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the few games that they had on the Nintendo 64. Mm. Yeah. Good times.
Yep.
Sometimes
very awesome.
I wish we could have like a giant combined house where we could still get away from each other.
That is the key.
But where it is more conducive to just hanging around and being around each other, not like, oh, let's get in the car and go over to their house, where we will then have to leave and come back to our house.
Okay.
I think a combined household would be awesome.
If you build it, I'll live there.
Okay.
Rent free, of course.
Oh.
Okay. My question is, and this is going to get vain. Let's get vain, guys. So, would you rather have a 10 out of 10 face and a 7 out of 10 body, or a 7 out of 10 face and a 10 out of 10 body?
Man, super vain.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, okay, it's just a middle question. It doesn't have to be like deep.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to hear what and why. So, for me, this is hard, but at the same time, the answer seems like, if I think about it a lot, kind of obvious. So I'd go for the 10 out of 10 face, 7 out of 10 body, because like, as much as I would love, and as much as I have like poured so many hours of my life into the pursuit of a 10 out of 10 body, which for those of you who may be listening who maybe don't know what I look like, I have nothing close to that. But like, how often do you walk around in public with your shirt off? Very infrequently. But if you have the 10 out of 10 face, like, doors are just opened for you. This is like, if you look at movie stars, I think the evidence is pretty clear that like, if you have just an incredibly good face, like Ryan Gosling would not be so incredibly popular if there was not a meme about him being like perfect face. So
interesting.
Yeah. And this is, the thing about having a 7'10" body is like, that's great. I mean, yeah, you're still passable, you're still fit and stuff. So yeah, that's where I stand.
I think I don't need to answer this question since I already have a 10 out of 10 face and a 7 out of 10 body.
I thought you were going to say 10 out of 10 for both.
Oh.
But okay, so before you guys answer, I want to add the caveat. Whether you have a 7 out of 10 body or a 10 out of 10 body makes no difference on your physical capacities. Purely...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, purely aesthetic. So, who wants to go next?
Go for it, Noah.
I mean, what Josh had just said completely changed mine, because I was going to say, well, obviously, like, if you can do more physical stuff, that's cool. But if it has no actual bearing on your physical capacity, then I like Joshua's logic of you might as well have the 10 out of 10 face and have more doors open for you, even though that's really kind of sad that is actually, a quantifiable truth that would make a difference. I guess that would be the most logical. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you go into a job interview and, like, regardless of the gender and sex of the person interviewing you, like, if you have a 10 out of 10 face, they will just, like, this is like a psychological thing. It's called a halo effect. And thank you, MCAT studying. So, like, if somebody really likes one thing about you, they will, like, try and smear that liking over other things that are maybe less likable. So, like, if you're like, yeah, hey, good to meet you. Thank you for having me for this job interview. Yeah, I just got done tripping a bunch of grandmas walking across the crosswalk, they'll be like, "Oh, that's fine. That's understandable. I bet those grannies really needed to be tricked because this guy's so attractive.
Yeah.
So
There's no wrong this person could do. I mean, this just shows how similar we are as brothers, but I also would choose 10 out of 10 face, 7 out of 10 body, pretty much for the same reasons. And for, the pulling chicks. It's not like...
Reel them in, Andrew. Reel them in.
Yeah, it's not like when you're sitting down on a first date, they can see your whole body. They're thinking that. They're thinking,
Wait.
wow, what a beautiful face in front of me.
You didn't
Wait, that's not what you're supposed to do?
strip naked for Libby?
You're not just
on your
supposed to,
first date?
just hello, my name is Andrew, and then just take your shirt off like you did at Memphis Rocks?
No, my religion doesn't allow me to take my shirt off in front of the girl in front of me until 10 years of marriage.
That is the only reason why I have Velcro pants.
Whoa.
I keep them on stock for my first dates.
I always just thought that's because you had to pee so much.
Well, that's
That's a good
useful.
point to end that question before we make more fools of ourselves. Okay, that ended up being a smaller question than I presumed the middle would be.
Well,
but
that's okay.
I'm glad you guys agree with me. That's what makes it justifiable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your logic was just irrefutable. Like, as soon as you described the question and your logic was like, oh, yeah, yep, that makes sense.
Oh, God, I love winning arguments. Okay, Noah, will you grace us with a biggle question?
Yes, allow me to wait for this plane to stop going overhead for just a moment.
Okay. No, we can keep this in here. This is great. Listen to me sip my soda, people.
Yeah. It's gone. Okay. So, the big old question is, what is better, happiness or usefulness?
Okay. Go for
So,
it. Tackle this
like-
one.
That's hard.
Yeah. Do you guys want me to go first, or do you want to put your thoughts in first?
Okay, question before we get started. So, this is presuming that the happiness does not come from the usefulness, and the usefulness is not affected by happiness.
Not necessarily. It's more, we're talking kind of realistically, I guess. Not
Okay.
just some weird philosophical thought experiments, but like realistically, what is more important? Is it the happiness that's more important or the usefulness? And they can affect each other. They can have a positive correlation or a negative correlation or whatever.
And they can coexist. It's not like I'm choosing I will be happy for the rest of my life or I will be useful.
Correct. It can be,
Okay.
yeah, they can coexist.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Go for it.
I would say usefulness is more important because, if you're useful, you're having a good impact on other people. And I just feel like it's more important to the ends to have a positive impact on the world and the future and the people around you than it is just to be happy. But as humans, happiness is very much correlated with usefulness. Like if you feel good about yourself, if you feel happy, then you are very likely to be more useful and have a more positive impact on those around you, And so I think in practice, they are both important, and you can't just focus on being useful and lose all your happiness, or you stop being as useful, which if you're so focused on being useful is going to have a negative impact on your happiness to begin with. But you can't just focus on your happiness because, there are easy ways to happiness, and sometimes they aren't, as beneficial to other people around you. I have another random thought to throw in there. I think it's kind of interesting evolutionarily that our usefulness is probably affected by our happiness because we're we've evolved to be happy when we're being useful, when we're helping other people, you do good things and all that. I don't know. I don't have any other thoughts I want to push off that. I just thought it was an interesting side chain. Anyways, y'all's turn.
That is. It's also, okay, but going off of that, it's interesting to me that we are more useful than we are happy also, because then it makes me think that we evolved to be happy. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Maybe I'm thinking about this incorrectly, but if we need to be useful to continue perpetuating the species, just because we are such social creatures. So then that makes me think that like the happiness helping the usefulness is then like, does this make any sense to you guys? Maybe I'm just talking out of my butt. I'm probably just talking out of my butt. We can edit this out.
No, I had the train of thought going, and then I started hearing the buzzsaw.
Yeah. There's a buzzsaw going on in the background.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, there absolutely is.
This doesn't have to be in the podcast, but last night at like 1 a.m., we were all sitting around this table in the media room playing cards, playing blackjack, and I was across the table from Molly and McCall, and they just both look at me and their eyes widen, and they go, "Andrew, don't move."
Oh,
And-
I hate it when people do that.
Yeah, and earlier I had heard like a really big bug fly past my ear, but it was like while I was walking around in the game room, so I was like, oh, it's probably not the same thing. Or it's probably nothing when I was in the game room. And then apparently it was right on my shoulder. But my friend Colby just came up behind me, and he just like picked it up and squished its head.
Oh my gosh.
It was a wasp,
Oh my gosh.
and he just picked, yeah.
Which
Which is disgusting. And incredibly ballsy.
You short-circuited me.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, what were we talking about?
Usefulness versus happiness, and you were...
Oh, yeah, okay.
You were
Okay,
saying
okay, okay.
whether happiness evolves from usefulness.
Yeah, okay. So I think happiness, yeah, we evolved to be happy. That's maybe that just sounds like a nice sentiment to me, that we evolved to be happy.
Mhm.
Anyway, okay, so Noah, you kind of gave a cop-out answer, I feel like. You were like, yeah, they're both important. So I want to pin you down on this a little bit more. So if you had to
Okay.
give like a percentage of your effort, you only have 100% of effort that you can give, and you have to divide it between these two things. What's the ratio of
Ooh.
effort put into happiness and effort put into productivity?
I think it would vary based on how happy you were and how useful you were at any given time. But generally speaking, 69% towards usefulness, 31% towards happiness.
Okay. So you think that would be like, that would maximize the two
Yeah, I think so.
quantities for you?
At least
Okay.
it would depend on who you are too, because I feel like for people like us, we very much want to be useful all the time. And sorry,
Yeah,
I was starting again, but
I don't know, it's fine.
but so that would have a large effect on our happiness. But then there's certain self-care things you got to do too, like rock climbing does not really improve my usefulness a whole lot, but it does make me very happy.
Yeah.
Sure will in the zombie apocalypse.
That's interesting that you bring up exercise, because like for me, when I got into CrossFit, I was so obsessed with the functional fitness thing. And I was like, I just have to be so much more functional. I can be so much more useful. And then I realized like, I'm never going to need to like lift a ton of weight. Okay, I take that back. I will need to lift a ton of weight like once a year when somebody asks me to move a couch.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that'll be it. Like, it was so disappointing to me to have that realization that I do not live in the times when I would need to like be wielding a sword all day long. I mean, of course my mind goes to swords, or like running from buffalo, rampaging across the mountain tops of Antarctica. I said running from buffalo, and then I realized people don't really need to run from buffalo, so I just kind of
You
went
never know, they charge
full
sometimes.
on whimsical. But I think that is a testament to what my answer is, which is pretty darn close to 100% usefulness. I would say I'd give it maybe 80-20. 80% effort into usefulness, 20% into just focusing on stuff that makes you happy. But I mean, even that, like if I have like 6 hours, let's make it 5 hours so that the math's easy. 5 hours. It is hard for me, if I have all the things in the world that I can do, it is hard for me to spend a full hour of that just doing something for enjoyment. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Like, I don't know what I would even do. I'd probably just read, but I mean, I can only read for like 20 minutes at a time, maybe 30, without feeling like
you're wasting time.
Yeah. Like even, okay, so the times when I can read the most is when I'm reading in Spanish. And that's because I've got this little track in the back of my mind saying, okay, yeah, you're improving your Spanish. This will someday be useful to you and other people.
Yeah.
And when I'm reading in English, it's just like, wow, this is boring.
Yeah.
So,
well, I guess that is another, way of thinking about it is some things like reading in Spanish are both for happiness and for usefulness, Like the things that you're doing that are useful can be, you can like do something that's maybe not the most useful thing you could possibly do, but it still makes you happy. And so it is extra beneficial because of that.
Yeah.
But I know that's adding extra layers and cop-out answers and everything. So
yeah,
which we are just pros at.
Oh yeah,
but especially you two. Okay, Andrew, what is your answer?
Yeah, I've been kind of quiet on this because I do not super agree with Noah and I do not agree with Joshua. Because for me, when I am happy, or I should say, my usefulness comes from my happiness. My happiness does not come from my usefulness. I feel like if I take a long time to wake up in the morning and then I've just been doing nothing all morning, I cannot do anything, whether it's schoolwork or chores or, the few chores as Beg's boys have to do or anything. But if I wake up early and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to treat myself to a couple hours of playing video games or doing whatever I want to do, it is just way easier to get stuff done. After the video games, I'll be like, now I've got all this day that I can still accomplish stuff in, even though it is the same amount of time that I would normally have.
That is so weird to me. If I spend a whole morning playing video games, I am just like, why don't I just go to bed? Because this day has already been wasted.
Yeah.
I'll just start over again tomorrow. It makes me both unhappy and either as a cause or as a result, super, super unuseful. I have to go for a walk, at least half an hour, just to kind of let that fog of, I don't know if it's feeling guilty or just, I don't know, or just I don't know. Psychology is weird, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. That does make me think, though, since y'all are... sorry, actually, did you have more thoughts to put in there?
No, you go for it.
That does make me think. It would be interesting to see how y'all functioned if you tried to go for the other person's method for some, morning or day or whatever. Because I feel like I'm a little bit in between. I'm more on, on usefulness makes me feel happy, but I definitely get what Andrew's saying. If I'm in a good mood, my usefulness is exponentially better. And sometimes that's just a matter of dinking around playing video games or going and climbing or doing whatever. So I'd be curious to hear, if Joshua, if you, got up one morning and you're like, all right, I'm going to, do my workout or whatever. And then instead of trying to immediately be useful, play Team Fortress 2 with us or something. And, not have any sort of usefulness factor. Just be this is just going to make me happy. And that will be good in and of itself.
And
then Andrew, get up and just
grind.
Go for usefulness or something. I don't know.
Oh, man. My reaction to that is the same as Andrew's, which is, ugh. But, okay. So, you said something in there that, I don't know, I kind of latched onto. So, you said that you are much more useful when you are happy. I think I am too, but the difference is the happiness comes exclusively from the usefulness. Like, this is a closed loop positive feedback cycle here.
Yeah.
There is so little that can like enter into this circuit and add momentum to it. Like, all of its momentum
comes from itself, from
internal.
the usefulness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although that would be, do you think then that it would be good to have another source of happiness and improved usefulness, because then you have the increased stability as well? Because I know there are definitely days where you can't do things that are useful, or you can't do as much, or something gets in the way, and that then so much of your happiness comes from that. I mean, this happens to me too, to an extent, but so much of your happiness comes from that, and then you don't have a good an auxiliary source of power.
Oh, I'm sure it would be. That would be super healthy. I'm sure that's super healthy. But is that feasible? Like, is that something that my brain is physically capable of? I think that you guys have some circuitry that maybe is missing from my mental blueprints.
Well, before you even said the thing about it being a mental feedback loop of usefulness leads to more and more happiness, for me it is just happiness leads to more and more usefulness. Like, your usefulness from a lot of places and only get your happiness from your usefulness. I get my happiness from a lot of places and only get my usefulness, I feel like. Which is very weird. It also seems, and I don't know where I'm going with this, but it also seems like you dread my sort of mentality more than I dread your sort of mentality.
I definitely do. I think that I dread being bored, because for me, boredom comes from, most principally comes from just being unuseful. It's not like boredom comes from having nothing to do. Like, we have so many video games that I could play. I have tons of video games on my laptop that I could play at any point, but that is not like the cure to boredom for me. And I think boredom is one of the deepest forms of suffering, at least in my own life. So yeah. So I'm kind of thinking of this as like, Andrew, you are kind of like a rechargeable battery where you get a little bit of happiness and then you can like spend that. You can like burn that energy being useful. Yeah. And then eventually you run out of that charge and you have to recharge, which is probably like the normal person thing, normal human thing. But for me, it's like, I am a boulder at the top of a hill, and you have to, there's just like, as soon as it starts rolling, no matter how it starts rolling, as soon as it starts rolling, it will just kind of keep accelerating and accelerating and accelerating until something in the path, whether that be like a cliff or another boulder careening in an opposite direction, smashes into it, and the boulder stops, and then it is really hard to get it started going again.
Huh.
Those are the two metaphors I thought. They don't really fit together all that well.
But they work.
Yeah.
That's
boulders and batteries.
So.
I was going to ask, is the boredom you feel now the same as like the boredom that you felt 10 years ago? The same kind of boredom?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that no. Like, when I used to get bored as a kid, it wasn't because I didn't have anything to do, or because I didn't have anything useful to do, I should say. It was because I didn't have anything like fresh to do. Like, Noah and I had already played whatever video games for like 6 hours that day.
Yeah. And
I had already watched a bunch of TV, and I wasn't going to read a book.
No.
So,
gosh.
So that's when I would get bored. And then, the cure to that would be, it always was, finding something fresh to do. Like, Noah and I would make a game or play with Legos for a little bit. And then we would kind of give it enough time so that I could go back to the video games or the TV and it would feel fresh again. Yeah, it had nothing to do with productivity. Nothing to do with productivity. Even, I don't know, I'm realizing that I was thinking 10 years ago was like when I was 6 years old. 10 years ago for me was when I was 13, guys. I'm a geezer. But
Man,
yeah,
you're
even
so
still, 13, that was like middle school. Yeah, still definitely the same thing. It had nothing to do with productivity.
That is really weird.
Yeah.
Brains.
I'm okay. For the title of this episode, I'm stuck between brains and boulders and batteries, and then also Noah 6931, because those were your percentages.
I think 6931 would be great if our audience was all our age.
Yeah. I don't want to have to explain what 69 is to Grandmarita.
Yeah.
Or any of our grandparents.
Yeah.
It's a number.
Yep.
It is the square root of
A lot.
a lot.
Of a whole lot. That's a big old number.
Yep. Okay. Do you guys have any final thoughts on this topic or any others?
I really don't. I feel like we did a good job on that big question.
Yeah, I feel like we did
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, y'all did awesome. That was kind
Thanks.
of a general one, and you took it in all sorts of interesting directions.
Like a game of conversational twister. Okay, let's go ahead and roll the credits, guys. This podcast is created by the three of us, written by none of us, and edited and produced by me, Joshua. Hopefully, it's also listened to and enjoyed by you, but no pressure, hey? So join us next time as we unravel more of the world's big questions, or maybe just get tangled up in them. We'll see how things go when we get there. Love, thanks, and T-Rex hugs from all of us. We couldn't have done this without you. Say bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.